Trucker Dump, episode 147. Today's show is all about CDL Farms and why you should be careful when choosing a truck driving school. I interview a driver who went to one and, oh man, you're not going to believe how bad this was. But before we get to that, we've got stories about safety blitzes and recalls, electric truck expectations, and of course, more COVID-related news, including the death of a trucking icon. We'll also hit on the upcoming new split sleeper berth rule, we'll issue a warning about CBD products, and the FBI warns about ELD hackers. And it's good to know somebody is bringing the issues of truck parking and detention pay into the spotlight. This episode of Trucker Dump is sponsored by Volvo Trucks and Pilot Flying J.
Welcome to Trucker Dump, where you'll get one driver's insights and sometimes humorous views of truck driving and the trucking industry. And pretty much anything else he feels like dumping on you. This podcast is brought to you by AboutTruckDriving.com. Resources to help you understand the world of truck driving through the use of stories and a pathetic attempt at humor.
Hey, trucker dumpers, how's it going out there? Man, all is right with the world, I gotta tell you, it's August, which means it's my birthday month. Yes, you heard that right. The evil overlord and I, who is my wife and ex-co-driver, we celebrate birthday months, basically. We don't make a big deal out of the actual day. It's a whole stinking month for each of us. Hers is May, mine's August. So, I just had a good meal at some sirloin tips at Texas Roadhouse. Of course, we didn't go in because, well, honestly, I don't get the mask thing. Part of it I do. I mean, I get masked, but not when it's only partially, like for instance, you have to, if you're waiting in line, you have to wear a mask. But if you go in to sit with everybody for a long period of time while you eat, you don't have to wear it. So of course you can't eat while you're wearing a mask anyway. I'm just a little confused by the whole thing. Anyway, we just got it to go, brought it home, and it was quite excellent. And to top it all off, she just brought me in a piece of nice hot lemon cake she just made. Tried a new recipe and it was wonderful. So I'm all pumped about that. There's one thing I am a little bummed about though. I gotta admit, I got a new pressure washer, but instead of playing with it, I'm sitting in here recording. So that's just wrong. Anyway, I'll get to it eventually. Those evil birds have attacked our front porch again and they're pooping all over it. I don't like that. Well, this is the Trucker Dump. We are naturally going to talk about poop. Hey, for those of you new to the show, my name is Todd McCann. I'll be your host. I am a 23-year company truck driver. I'm a freelance writer, and I'm the author of 2 ebooks. One is called How to Find a Great Truck Driving Job, and the other is called Trucking Life. And I would like to mention that I am running a special on these 2 books. There's an ebook combo that I sell for normally 25% off, but I am selling both books for 50% off if you buy them as a pack. So basically buy one, get one free. So $9.99, you can get both books. Just go to abouttruckdriving.com and check out the books link in the navigation bar there. Honestly, I should have done this a lot earlier. I've been meaning to kind of run a test and see how it goes if I drop the price a little bit, for a limited time. And this is for a limited time. But I really should have done it back when this all COVID thing all started, when people were starting to lose their jobs and they were looking for something a little bit more secure and they were probably maybe got laid off and were looking for other opportunities. That would have been a perfect time to offer these 2 books at a reduced cost. But hey, I'm getting around to it a little bit late, but I am getting to it. So anyway, again, just go to abouttruckdriving.com or there'll be a link in the show notes to that special offer. Since I mentioned show notes, I got to explain them a little bit. You can go to abouttruckdriving.com and click on the episode 147, and all the show notes will be at the bottom of that blog post. And the show notes are basically just all the links of these news stories, everything I talk about. Any blog post I mention will be in here. If there's any photos I mention or anything like that, those will be in those notes on abouttruckdriving.com. Within this episode again is 147, but it will also be in your app. If you have a podcasting app, and I suggest if you listen to podcasts that you do a podcasting app, use the Apple Podcasts app if, for free. If you have an iPhone or, you can use the Google Play. I believe I think it's just called Google Podcasts. That's what it's called. The app is called Google Podcasts if you're on Android. And that's also free. And you'll get the links in the show notes and all that stuff. And I'm going to say show notes about 1 million times, so you'll probably want to check that out. So, hey, how is the road treating you out there? I'm curious. I am staying super busy. Of course, I'm in the LTL industry now. I'm getting 3,000 plus miles every week. They're running my tail off, but I'm loving it. And, as I've said before, when you're doing LTL and you're getting paid for all your work, those can translate into some pretty mega huge checks. And I've been pretty happy with that. I'm just curious how everyone else is doing out there. You over the roaders, if you're staying out 3-4 weeks of time, are you having to stay out longer to make up the difference? Is freight slow? How's it working for you out there? Send me an email. Let me know. truckerdump@gmail.com. Just curious how you're doing out there. If everything works the way I want it to, this episode is going to release just 3 weeks after the last one, trying to get back on schedule again. Had a bit of a delay in July there. So trying to get back on schedule. We'll see. But because of that, we got a little bit less news, which I don't know. If you're not a fan of the news segment, then you'll love it. So what say we just get on with it? All right, here we go as I burp up lemon cake. Our first story comes from truckinginfo.com. And this one is about the CVSA Brake Safety Week that's coming up here in August. It's going to be August 23rd through 29th. The CVSA is the Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance. They do this Brake Safety Week every year. This year, I think it's on schedule. I don't think it was actually affected by the COVID thing. They stayed on schedule, unlike some of the other blitzes we had. But anyway, what they're going to be focusing on this year, well, of course, it's called the Brake Safety Week, so they're going to be focusing on brakes. But in this particular year, they are going to be focusing on brake hoses and tubing. So they're going to be looking to see that your brake hoses and your tubing is properly attached, it's undamaged, got no leaks, and it's appropriately flexible. Now, they say last year on the International Road Check Inspection, which is a different inspection, they said brake system and brake adjustment violations accounted for 45.1% of all vehicle out of service conditions. So, man, that's big. That's a lot. And last year's brake safety check, this one, 13.5% of the vehicles that were inspected were placed out of service due to brake related issues. So, again, this is a big deal. Make sure, take this time before, August 23rd comes up. Just give your tractor and your trailer a good, a good once over. You can even take it and get it inspected, and hopefully the first time you get inspected, by this CVSA, they'll go ahead and give you that inspection pass decal thing you can stick in your windshield, and then everybody will quit bugging you. But anyway, of course, brakes are very important anyway. You know that. I don't have to tell you that. But, just get those checked out in advance so you don't get surprised and you don't become one of these, 13.5% of the trucks that are sitting there waiting for a service truck to come and help them out. Now, you probably don't need any more information on that, but if you do, there's a link in the show notes to it. Speaking of brakes, got a couple of recalls for you. Found this one on Transport Topics, which is ttnews.com. Did you know the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration administered almost 900 safety recalls in 2019? That affected more than 38 million vehicles. Well, we've got two more here. The first one has to do with brakes. This one is a recall. It's a voluntary recall from Daimler Trucks. Now, they're saying they're recalling a potential 165,000 of the Freightliner Cascadias models 2017 to 2021. Apparently, there's an issue with the automatic braking, and they're saying something called a single brake modulator valve. It can malfunction. Some corrosion can get in there, and it can cause one side of the brakes to release, but not the other, which obviously will cause the truck to pull if you brake real hard. Now, this hasn't happened a lot, but they are just being on the cautious side. So they are going to contact anybody who they believe will have this problem. But if you discover anything like this, or you think you have the problem, go ahead and contact, your local Freightliner dealer. They're going to repair this free of charge, of course. So be sure to check that out. The other one is from Navistar, who makes International, obviously. And they have a engine connecting rod. They're saying that could fail on certain 2018 to 2020 International LTs and 2019 to 2020 International RH trucks with the A26 engine. So they're saying that this can actually be fixed with just a computer update. And basically, it's not going to fix the rod, but it will warn you in advance so you're not stranded on the side of a road. It's going to, you might be stranded on the side of a road when the red light goes off, but at least the red light will go off and you won't just blow the truck up. So that's important to get that checked out too. And they're saying this is going to affect approximately 4,500 of those trucks. So if you got that model, check it out. And if you're interested, the recall number on that one is 20504, and you can contact Navistar customer service at 1-800-448-7825, or just check out the link in the show notes if you want more information on either of those recalls. Wow, haven't had any recalls in a while. Feeling pretty pumped about that. One thing I'm not all that pumped about is that the trucking industry lost an icon in Bill Mack on July the 31st. For some of you new truckers out here, you may have never even heard of him. He was known as the Midnight Cowboy, and he was an overnight radio talk show host. He started his career back in 1969 on WBAP, which is in Fort Worth. The show was first called the Country Road Show. It was later called the US 1 Trucking Show. And later on, it was even called the Midnight Cowboy Trucking Show. He went on to go to XM Radio eventually. And he finally hung up his hat in 2011. Now, apparently, he was living in a memory assist home recently. Apparently, he was 91 years old when he passed. They said he was suffering from dementia, but he was himself most of the time, which is good to know, for his family and friends right up until the end. But apparently, just a couple of days before he passed, he was diagnosed with COVID-19. So they're going to put that down as, complications from COVID-19 as the cause of his death. Which is sad, of course. I know he meant a lot to a lot of people. I remember him on the show. I remember listening to it a little bit, but I was not really into the whole trucking culture back then. I was a truck driver, but I did not, live, eat, and breathe it. And I certainly didn't really want to listen to anybody talk about it all night long on the radio. But I will say that there was there were some nights out there where you're just dying and you need something to keep you awake. And Bill Mack was always there for that. I know he had a huge following. Lots of people will miss him. And if you've got any stories about him, that would be very interesting. I'd love to hear them. Reading up a little bit on Bill, I learned something new about him I didn't know. Apparently, he was a songwriter. Pretty famous one, I guess, but I didn't know that. So much so that he actually won a Grammy in 1997 for Best Country Song. That song? Blue by LeAnn Rimes. Who knew? I mean, I know that song well. I heard LeAnn Rimes perform it many times, but I had no idea Bill Mack was the writer. So that's pretty awesome. There's a link in the show notes here to this article on landline.com. Where's it? Landline.media. What is it? Anyway, there's a link in the show notes. There's some stories, of different people writing in and saying what they had, their memories of Bill Mack and what the show meant to them and everything. Really neat kind of article. Anyway, Bill Mack will be missed by many. What a trucking icon, and he's gone. Man, what a bummer. Rest in peace. And more COVID news. Well, this probably isn't news at all because you've already been experiencing this. TheTruckersReport.com. Masks are now mandatory at all of the largest truck stop chains. Yep. Apparently, COVID-19 has killed 150,000 people here in the United States. It just surpassed that not too long ago. So now Love's announced it first, and now Pilot Flying J and Travel Centers of America have added it on. Now, this article doesn't say it, but I'm guessing that also includes Petro, since, TA owns Petro, or Petro owns TA. I can't remember which way that goes, but TA and Petro are the same thing, basically. Same company. So if it's at one, it's probably at the other. Again, these are rules made by them. It's not necessarily the state or anything like that, or the county. It's just these truck stops have decided to try to jump on board with the mask thing and, get out in front of all this. Now, I have to say I've been in lots of these truck stops since they have implemented this, and I have not seen everyone complying for sure. There's definitely an argument about masks in this country right now, and I'm not going to get into all of it. I'm just saying, if you go in there and you're not wearing one, I've never seen anyone confronted by it. But I have been, well, I can't say that, honestly, because I got out of the truck to go into the Pilot in Memphis. I was going to go in there and grab me some Arby's, and the guard, which that one in Memphis is, kind of in a bad area. So there was a guard out there, and he pointed to his face like, "Hey, get a mask." And I pulled it out of my pocket, and he saw it, and off I went. But then, funnily enough, I'm standing there in line at Arby's, and he comes in and he's got his mask down around his chin. So I don't know why he's telling me to wear a mask when his is down around his chin and not covering anything. So anyway, like I said, I'm not getting into the whole mask thing. There's lots of disagreements about that, and you do what you're going to do. And in more COVID disruption, let's head over to overdriveonline.com, where we're going to find out that the hazmat endorsement renewal waiver is extended through October. We all know that the CDLs and the DOT physicals and all that stuff has been extended out over time because the DMVs and stuff are not open as much as they are, and it's truckers are having trouble getting their stuff renewed. So this extension was originally supposed to go through July 31st, and it will now be in effect through October 29th. But it does say right here, it's very important to know that the TSA wants to remind drivers that you must initiate your security threat assessment at least 60 days before the end of the state-granted extension. So the way I read that is if that extension runs through October 29th, that means you probably need to get this process started by August, 2 months? Yeah, August 29th. So by the end of this month, you need to get that started. If you're new to the industry, that whole hazmat thing does take a little bit of time when they check you and do your fingerprinting and all that stuff. It does take a little bit of time to get back to you, and you do not want to be late on that. I actually speak from experience on that one. Yeah, last time mine was due up, I just kind of forgot all about it and ended up at the last second realizing I didn't have a hazmat for a few days, which was not really a problem at my last company because they didn't require it. So I just, couldn't haul hazmat loads for a few days. I guess it was a few weeks in there before I got everything fixed. But with this company right now, I'd be sitting because we haul a lot of hazmat, and, that wouldn't be good. So again, if you're listening to this right now, as soon as you get a chance, check your license. Make sure everything is up to date. Make sure you're not, nothing's coming up on you. Of course, we got the extensions on the CDLs also, and like I say, the DOT physicals. But don't let that surprise you, and certainly don't let this hazmat surprise you if it's a big deal to your job, especially. All right, this next story I found on overdriveonline.com. This one is about a pact that 15 states entered into to require zero emissions trucks. So nearly 1/3 of the states in the United States have decided that they are going to get on this thing where they want to effectively ban carbon emissions producing heavy duty trucks by 2050. That's 2050. And furthermore, it says they want to get, by 2030, they want to have at least 30% of all medium and heavy duty vehicles in these 15 states to be, zero emissions. So again, this is not legal binding or anything like that. It's just an agreement between, states saying, hey, we're going to work on this, combined trying to get trying to, push the whole thing forward. And there have been companies jump on board, like large private companies like, DHL, IKEA, PepsiCo, and Unilever, 4 of them that they mentioned. So this is probably going to get a lot bigger with, people jumping on board saying, hey, we want to get these zero emissions vehicles out there. And, hey, fine, whatever, by 2050. Okay, we'll see how they do on that 2030, getting 30% of all trucks to be electric by that time. I don't know. That's a stretch. Of course, this is just, they're talking about new sales, I think is what they're talking about, not trucks that are already on the road. We already know if you have a truck on the road and it's not electric and you love your diesel engine, you are going to keep hold of that sucker as long as possible. Just like the people who don't want to do e-logs keep their 1999 trucks on the road, because they're exempt from it. So anyway, just more stuff about electric vehicles. I'm just really proud of myself that I didn't call them electronic vehicles this time around. You know what 2 really important issues are in the trucking industry? Detention pay and truck parking. Check this out on freightwaves.com, link in the show notes. This talks about how OIDA, the Owner-Operator Independent Driver Association, is, speaking at the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, that the FMCSA, they had a truck safety summit a while back, and they spoke at it, and they really were pushing towards this, problems with the parking and problems with detention pay. These are 2 huge problems on the industry that are basically being ignored, especially those detention times. My God, it's ridiculous, And part of the problem is, according to OIDA, is that way back in 1938, there was something called the Fair Labor Standards Act. I've talked about this before a little bit, but somehow or another, they got an exemption from the trucking industry from overtime compensation, meaning trucking companies didn't have to pay their truckers overtime. Now, the reason this was put in there apparently is they were trying to protect the employers from having to compensate for work that couldn't be accounted for. So, maybe a trucker's just sitting overnight somewhere to get loaded and instead he says he's working all night, unloading the trailer himself, and that couldn't be accounted for. Well, OIDA is arguing that, hey, we got electronic log devices more, everything's more transparent. Trucking companies have a better idea what their employees are doing and what, a shipper or receiver is requiring of them. They know darn well that if, they hire lumpers there at a particular place or something, and you're not going to be on the dock. So they're saying this rule is outdated, 1938. And, it would solve some problems, for the driver, especially, they don't get paid a lot of times sitting, to get unloaded and things like that. And it's just kind of a crock, quite honestly, that why truckers of all people are we, we're not eligible for overtime pay, which, isn't a big deal if you're getting paid by the mile, but what about your detention pay? Maybe more companies would, it would make more sense for companies to, well, no, it wouldn't, because, let's think about this. If a company had to pay overtime, they would certainly not want to pay hourly because, anything over 40 would be considered overtime. Man, talk about paying out the nose. Yeah, they'd never go for that. I don't know what I'm thinking. Anyway, OIDA is pushing this pretty hard, and hopefully it'll get some traction in there. Now, the article does say that there's this recent $1.5 trillion infrastructure bill that was passed by the U.S. House of Representatives. They're saying that there is they're trying to address this and put limits on detention times by shippers if the drivers are not compensated. But, like we discussed in the last podcast, it does not look like the Senate is going to pass that on other issues. So we'll just have to wait and see what comes of all this. Anyway, if you're at a trucking company, just pay your drivers what they're worth. Pay them for their time, please. Okay, let's move on. Hey, you remember in the last episode, we talked a lot about the Mary Joanna, right? Well, over here on Transport Topics, that's ttnews.com, link in the show notes. They have an article called Truck Drivers Should Beware of CBD, a drug policy expert says. All right, here's the problem. CBD is not being very well regulated in this country. It has to have a certain level, below a certain level of THC to be considered CBD oil, I guess. But the problem is nobody's really watching that. There's been a lot of warnings issued by the FDA saying, hey, you're over the limit. And, you know, people aren't watching. It's just not being regulated like it should. So they're saying, truckers, if you take this stuff, it's at your own risk, because you could be in big trouble if you go in for a drug test and you've taken some of this stuff that's over that legal limit. It can register you as being high on the weed without actually have ever smoked any. And that would really suck. I mean, right? Want to get the buzz out of it, right? At least if you're going to do it and get caught. No, seriously, don't smoke. Don't smoke weed. That's not cool. But anyway, just thought I'd let you know, if you want all the details on this, check out the link in the show notes. And basically, I'm just going to advise you, just stay away from that CBD oil. Many people do, swear by it, and they love it. But to me, it's just not worth risking your CDL. Now, this article agrees with me, because it says if you test positive for marijuana, even if it is CBD use, you're going to be in a world of hurt. First off, your name's going to go in that FMCSA drug and alcohol clearinghouse we've been talking about. That's going to be on your record for 5 years. And also, if you are, if they think you've been smoking the weed, even if you haven't, the article says you will probably going to have to go through a substance abuse professional program. After that, you're probably going to have to pass a drug test, a return to duty drug test, and that's directly observed. So somebody's going to be looking at your junk while you're doing that. And after that, you're going to have to submit 6 more drug tests over the next 12 months. And each one of those, people are going to be looking at your junk too. And if that wasn't a big enough kick in the pants, you may have to pay for all or some of this testing. Whew. Is it worth it? Just to relieve a little arthritis, if that's what you think it's doing? I don't know. There's got to be other alternatives. That's a big risk if you're relying on your CDL. So anyway, your choice, your life. This is America. You can do what you want. Well, pretty much. All right, 2 more. I found this one on thetruckersreport.com. FBI warns that ELDs could let hackers control your vehicle, steal your information, and more. All right. Here's what the FBI says about ELDs, including those produced by, quote, well-known companies. They said they did little to nothing to follow cybersecurity best practices and are considered vulnerable to compromise. How you like that? The government forces ELDs on everybody, but they don't bother to go through the normal checks any electronic system like this is supposed to be going through. I mean, would they allow just Apple or Google or whoever just to go in and say, here, hey, we're going to put out some products, but we're not going to protect it in any way? No, but for some reason, the ELDs just slid right on through. So at this point, they're saying that the ELDs are vulnerable, that hackers can access vehicle data like the VIN number, that's redundant. The VIN, they can get like your user ID, they can get your GPS position, they can get your carrier information, and depending on what you put in that EDL, it might even say what you're hauling, which would be valuable to them. Why target somebody who's got a load of ramen noodles when you could target the person who's got a load of big screen TVs, right? But it actually goes beyond that. They're saying because an ELD is by its very nature linked back to your company, that there is a lifeline between the ELD and the company. So if they hack your ELD, they could possibly, if they know what they're doing, get into the computer system at your trucking company. And they could, from there, they could get your company's, your personal data off of their stuff, your phone number, your, all your birth dates or social security numbers, all that kind of stuff. They could even get company business and financial records. Anyway, this thing is just wide open. Now, I hate stories like this because it's like, what do you really do about it? What can you do about it? Sometimes I don't like to know about something if I can't really do anything about it, but I felt it necessary to, let you know what's going on out there. The FBI recommends that drivers and companies ask their ELD makers and suppliers a series of questions to make sure they are taking proper cybersecurity measures, which clearly they aren't, or else the FBI would have been, would not have come out with this statement. So if you go to the link in the show notes here, or, they have a link to the FBI notification here, and there is a list of questions there that you might want to ask your ELD provider. Again, and it's not going to do me a lick of good because I work for a company. They're going to do what they want to do, and I guess I'll just deal with it. Not much choice. But if you're owner operator, you might want to be checking out your ELD provider and start grilling them about this stuff. Because, like most things, they're going to push it to the last minute, probably until they are forced to do anything about it. As far as I know, I have not heard of any hacks. They were even saying, by the way, that they can take control of your vehicle, like if it's heavily automated or something like that. But we don't have a lot of that kind of stuff. But, they're saying basically, they could get in there and shut the system down. Just turn the ignition off. And now you're stuck on the side of the road and they're an easy target. Again, I haven't heard of any of that kind of stuff going on, but the FBI is warning that it could happen. Well, I don't want to be the first. But again, like I said, don't have a choice in the matter. It is what it is. All right, this last story, I am not going to go into great detail because it is about a rule that's not quite into effect yet. That's because the new hours of service rules go into effect, September 29th, I think? Something like that. Man, that's that's about a month and a half away. That's awesome. I can't wait for that new 30-minute the 8-hour break thing, the 30-minute rule. That's going to be fabulous. The rest of the stuff won't affect me that much. But if you are the kind that pulls off the 8 and the 2 split sleeper berth thing, you might want to check out this article. It's showing you some real world examples of how you might want to use this, because now, it's not only the 8 and the 2, but it's also the 7 and the 3. And the important thing here in this is that in the past, that 2 hours did not count towards the 14, but now it does. So, you could use that 3 hours or that 2 hours to pause, your 14-hour day, basically. So anyway, this article goes into some detail. It shows you some actual old school logbooks to, so you can see it and see how it actually looks, and, some of the ways you could possibly use the system to your advantage. So if you're going to do that, go check this out. I personally stay away from the split sleeper berth, and you know what? My e-log in my day cab actually has a sleeper berth button, but when you tap it, it says this truck does not have a sleeper berth. I actually tapped it one day just to see what would happen. Yeah, apparently it knows it doesn't have anywhere to sleep. Yeah, anyway, like I said, I always avoided this like the plague. I just didn't like running 8 and 2, but I know it can come in very, very handy, and it will be even more handy with the 7 and the 3. So anyway, check that out if you're interested. This, again, is on overdriveonline.com. It's called Rolling the 14, how to pull off the new split sleeper under the hours of service come September. In the great words of Ace Ventura, alrighty then. That's going to do it for the news. All right, let's be honest. By a show of hands, who here has gone to volvotrucks.us and checked out Volvo's website? Have you? Well, if you haven't, help a poor podcasting trucker out here by going to volvotrucks.us. Or better yet, click a link in the show notes so you can go directly to the page about Volvo Dynamic Steering. I found this interesting because apparently the lead engineer for Volvo Dynamic Steering, he says it's difficult to explain the benefits of a system like this, but when you drive it yourself, you can immediately feel it and understand it. I'm getting ahead of myself here. What exactly does Volvo Dynamic Steering do? Well, it's attached to the steering mechanism, and what it does is it electronically monitors the system up to 2,000 times per second, and it makes little adjustments for things that you encounter every single day. For instance, if you are on I-95 in New York, bouncing through New York City, you know how rough it can be, right? Well, Volvo Dynamic Steering is there just monitoring that constantly. They're making little bitty adjustments that you don't hardly feel, but you can tell when you're driving the truck. Or if you find yourself in the Santa Ana winds over there in California, well, you've felt the way that can blast the side of your truck. Well, Volvo Dynamic Steering can correct for side winds. And basically what this is doing is helping you over the long run to not feel stress. So at the end of your 11-hour driving, you're not going to feel near as stressed as the average driver clunking along in an ancient truck. Right? Another really cool thing it can do is it can compensate for a blown front tire, which is amazing. If you've ever had one of those, it will jerk the wheel almost out of your hands and scare the crap out of you. Well, you have to watch the video on this one. It's pretty impressive. They show an inside view of the truck driver sitting there. When that tire blows, he just barely moves the wheel. Anyway, that would be really awesome to have. I don't like having the crap scared out of me while I'm driving down the road. And then there's the automatic return to center feature, which is just looks weird, honestly. But, when you're backing in or when you're in tight areas, it will help compensate and get that steering wheel back to center. Now, again, just like the lead engineer said, all these things seem like minor things, but it does wear and tear on your body over time. And not only can it, make you feel better at the end of an 11-hour shift, but over the course of a long period of a long career, it's going to make your body less fatigued, less wore down. As any truck driver who has been driving for a long time can tell you, they got body parts that they didn't realize they could ever hurt, but they're hurting just because of driving. And this can help. Volvo Dynamic Steering. Enjoy driving again. You can learn more at volvotrucks.us or check out the link in the show notes. I've got two links in there, actually. One of them is to their website and the other is to the YouTube page. Lots of videos over there that will explain this in further detail. So again, head on over there and check that out. And thanks to Volvo Trucks for sponsoring this episode of Trucker Dump.
Give us a bottle of your finest champagne, 5 shrimp cocktails, and some bread for my brother.
What's that?
Sushi.
Sushi?
Boy, some chicken wings have really hit the spot.
This is a tasty burger.
Don't play with your food, eat it.
Well, now you haven't heard that little intro in a while, have you? Yep, Trucker Grub segment is back, thanks to Ryan Modi. So Ryan, what kind of good grub do you want to tell us about today?
Hey, what's up, Todd McCann? And all you trucker dumpers out there. Hey, my name's Ryan, coming at you with what is this segment called again? Trucker Grub. That's right, coming at you with a Trucker Grub. Hey, I was up in New Hampshire for the first time, way up northeast, and I believe it's off Interstate 93. Oh gosh, I'm going to have to pause this and go look at the Trucker Path app. All right, I was so right. It's Interstate 93. Heading up into New Hampshire there. It's exit 5. Now that is not mile marker 5. It was about 20 miles into the state. I don't know why, but the Northeast, they do their interstates a little different with the mile markers, exit numbers, and so on and so forth. Anyway, Interstate 93, exit 5. There's a little Sunoco truck stop there. Attached to that Sunoco truck stop is a diner called the Red Arrow Diner. This place is delicious. I got myself a farmer's omelet, which had a whole bunch of veggies from mushrooms to, I think there might have been some broccoli in there, onions, red peppers, so on and so forth, loaded up with a whole bunch of meat as well, ham, bacon, sausage. They definitely give you a huge portion. I also got a couple sides of bacon and sausage with my coffee. The deal is, a couple celebrities have been there. Presidential candidates, Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders have both been there. And then our current president, Donald Trump, had been there as well. They had pictures of all of them. It's also a big-time favorite from everyone's real familiar with this hilarious actor, Adam Sandler. He was born and raised in New Hampshire, in Manchester, New Hampshire. And the local diner there is the Red Arrow. And so it's one of his favorites. They had a whole bunch of pictures of him frequenting the Manchester, New Hampshire Red Arrow location. So this Red Arrow Diner, they have 6 locations. One of them is attached to this truck stop, and I highly recommend it. It was moderately priced. You definitely get a lot for your money. I was extremely hungry, so I was able to finish it all, but definitely portions where you could have some for breakfast and finish off some for lunch later on. Again, that is in New Hampshire, up in the Northeast, and that is Interstate 93, Exit 5, Red Arrow Diner, attached to the Sunoco truck stop there. And it was just great American diner food. Really good vibe. Also, fun fact, you guys know that blonde guy with the crazy hair, always wears the button-up t-shirts with the flames on it, Guy Fieri? Yeah, he does that TV show. I have never seen it, but I believe it's called like Drive-Ins and Diners or something, Diners and Drive-Ins. And he goes around and he helps them like renovate or whatever. Like I said, I've never seen the show. Anyway, Red Arrow Diner was on his TV show. Yeah, definitely be sure to swing in there and check it out. They've got 6 locations throughout New Hampshire, up in the Northeast. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy. If you make it by there, hope you enjoy your meal. And thanks for listening. And there's your audio comment, Todd. Hope you're happy. All right, take it easy, guys. Keep the shiny side up.
Well, thank you, Ryan. I am very happy about getting audio comments. You know I love that. I just have one question for you. What is this concept of leftovers? I'm not familiar with that. I am a trucker after all. Clearly, you didn't leave any leftovers. Oh, no, if we were all a little bit better, we'd just keep some leftovers. We all wouldn't be so fat, would we? All right. Well, again, thank you, Ryan, for this. I'll put a link in the show notes to the website. And check that out if you're ever up there in the New Hampshire way, where they have weird mile markers. Like he said, one of the last places in the country that still, the mile markers don't match the exits. Oh, well, they're a bit unique up there in New Hampshire and Vermont area, places like that. Just, bit off base. Can I say that without getting in trouble? All right. Anyway, thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it. He actually sent me another one, so we'll be hearing from him in a future episode. If you have a favorite place that you like to eat that is accessible when you're in your truck, please explain that to me. Tell me where it's at. Tell me how much it costs. Tell me what kind of food they have. Tell me where you can park. Tell me if the food was good. Well, yeah, I mean, if it's bad, don't tell me about that because I probably won't air it. We don't want to tell people where the bad food is, right? Well, I guess we could warn them off, but that's not the idea of this segment. So anyway, if you are interested in sending in a Trucker Grub segment like Ryan did, just email me at truckerdump@gmail.com. And again, audio only on these. That's just the way I've chosen to do it. You know, one of these days I'm going to make it easier for you, and I'm going to, set up something like SpeakPipe or some way for you to actually just call and leave a message, because for some reason, opening up your phone and using the voice memo app is just scary as heck for many of you. So I guess I'll do what I got to do. I got to look into that. Note to self. So anyway, thanks again, Ryan. I'll be looking forward to your next one. Hey there, driver. Yeah, you with the steering wheel in your hands right now. Pilot Flying J wants you to know how much they appreciate you and every other trucker out there for running out here on this road during these weird times. But hey, a lot of people say, put your money where your mouth is. Well, that's exactly what the Push for Points program is all about. You know how you can earn 1 point per gallon when you fuel at Pilot Flying J? Well, that's just the start with Push for Points. But here's the catch. In order to do Push for Points, you have to download their app, which is fine because it's an awesome app and it's helpful in so many ways. Just search for Pilot Flying J in your Google Play Store or your iOS App Store, and you can go to pilotflyingj.com/app to get direct links to either one of those. So hey, back to Push for Points. So like I said, you start out at 1 point per gallon, which is basically 1 point is 1 penny. You fire up your Pilot Flying J app, you open it up, it's immediately going to ask you if you'd like to activate Push for Points. You say, yes, please. Now you just put 75 gallons in there, and you're getting 1 point per gallon. But then on your second, you get 2 points. On your third, you get 2.5 points. 4, 3 points. 5 fills, and you get 3.5 points. Finally, after the 6th time you've pumped 75 gallons, you're going to be earning 4 points per gallon for the rest of the month. And that's going to rack up quick. Now, what can you spend all those points on? Well, that's the beauty of it. You can spend them on stuff in the store. They've even got special deals inside the app that's for inside app only. You know, stuff like buy one, get one free Gatorades and things like that. Lots of deals on drinks and snacks and things in the deli. They've even got some deals on their fast food restaurants and stuff in there. You can even use it for their Wi-Fi and their reserved parking at participating Pilot Flying J locations. So have fun spending all those points. And did I mention how easy it's going to be to pump at least 75 gallons every time having the handy dandy Pilot Flying J app on your phone? That's because you can activate the pump while you're sitting in your nice cool truck. And once you're done fueling, you can go and park and activate your shower. And the app will let you know when the shower is ready. That way you don't have to go inside and stand around with a mask on, right? All kind of benefits going on here. It'll even keep track of all the coffees that you buy, and you'll get every 9th one is free. How cool is that? So again, from Pilot Flying J, thank you for all you do. Stay safe on the road out there and take care. Terms and conditions apply to push for points, so see pilotflyingj.com/app for details. And thanks to Pilot Flying J for sponsoring this episode of Trucker Dump. All right, let's get on with the main topic for the day. This is an interview I did with a driver named C. Lopez. Well, that's kind of his name. It'll be explained in the interview. And really, just the whole idea of this is to bring awareness to CDL Farms and to bad trucking schools, and to, let you know if you are a non-trucker and you're considering getting into the industry to just be careful with the school that you choose. And you'll see what I mean when this interview goes on, because there were some times when I was just speechless, and well, you know how bad it must be if I'm speechless, right? All right, so let's just get on with it, and I'll be back afterwards to share my final thoughts on this subject. All right, our guest today is C. Lopez. That is not his real name, but he chooses to use a false name for this, just in case, he says anything that might get him in trouble. Is that about right, C?
Yeah, that's about correct, yeah.
Okay, all right. The topic of today's show is CDL Farms and whether somebody should actually go to a CDL farm. Now, so for you non-truckers listening, a CDL farm is one of these schools that their primary goal is just to kick you out. And it's just to get you in there, get your money, get you a CDL, and do as little as possible to get that done. The faster they can do it, the better. Now, whether that's a 2-week school, a 3-week school, I've never heard of a 1-week school, but I bet you they exist somewhere out there. That is the goal of a CDL farm. And C, you went to one of these. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
Well, let's go back just a little bit. What were you doing in your life when you decided to get into trucking? What attracted you to trucking, and exactly why did you choose to go the route you did?
Okay, I'm not new to the trucking industry. I did local deliveries as a helper for 15 years.
Okay.
So I'm not new to the actual trucking industry. I am new to being a driver.
Okay.
So I knew a little bit about the driving and the industry, musician, pretty much all my life. But I had a steady job for about 7 years at a theme park here in Orlando.
Okay. So yeah, as most people who are musicians, they often have another job to help supplement, to go around. So you were a musician. You just decided, hey, I'm riding along with this guy helping out. Why can't I do that and get paid more? Is that pretty much the way it went?
Well, I thought about it back about 7 years before I actually went to the school.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like I said, I got a really, really great paying job.
Mm-hmm.
In the Disney industry.
Okay.
Doing music 5 or 6 days a week, which is pretty much what I'm making now as a truck driver. So.
Oh, okay.
So it was really good money, and I got a year before they closed down. They told me that our contract will be over in 1 year. So pretty nice of them that they gave me a year heads up. So my boss my actual boss, he said, "Hey, I'm gonna open up a trucking company, and if you don't want to be without a job, and then from here to a year, let's get together, go to school together, get a license together, and when I start getting my trucks, I'll give you a truck."
Huh.
I said, "Oh, okay." I was kind of nervous because I knew I was going to lose my job.
Yeah.
And that's where the nightmares start. Yeah.
And that's kind of, you emailed me in the beginning, how we got this whole process started. And you were like, you were telling me about, you have a bunch of musicians who are out of work right now because of the COVID stuff. And, tell us what you told me earlier about that.
Well, I got a few phone calls from former band members, and, they knew that I got into the industry, and right now they're struggling. They're not making any money.
Right.
So they called me and they said, "Hey, where did you go to school? How much did it cost you?" And I pretty much told them how much it cost me, which was not a lot compared to, a regular school. And they were like, "Oh, can you get me the number?" I was like, "No, I don't think you should do that. I think you should go and pay your, I don't know what it is, $8,000, $9,000 now. Mm-hmm. Probably more."
Yeah.
And blah, 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 I don't have that type of money. I said, "But then don't get into the industry because you don't know nothing about trucking. You don't have no idea what's going on." And I pretty much try to tell them all the same. Don't do it.
But you're thinking, well, hey, let's get this word out to other people. And I just thought that was a great idea because, I think when people come into the trucking industry, they think, okay, well, I'm going to have to go to school. I wonder, how long that school it is that lasts a whole semester, like a typical class. Maybe if you go to a community college or something like that, or a technical college, but then they find out, oh crap, they got 4-week schools. They got 3-week schools. They got, oh, look, there's a 2-week school. Let's go there because I can get out quicker and get out to making more money. But you're saying, don't do that.
No, please don't do that. Don't do that. The school that I went to, there was no time limit on it. So.
Oh, you could just burn through it as quick as you could.
Exactly.
Oh, I see. Okay. Wow. Well, before we really get too far into this, I would like to make a disclaimer, that I'm sure C is going to agree with here, that not every driver that goes to a CDL farm is a bad driver. As a matter of fact, there's probably a lot of really good drivers out here right now. But the point of what we're trying to do here is express that when you get out of these schools, you are really, really not prepared. You need more time. That's the kind of thing, I just wanted to, set that out right there in front, because I know you're going to hear from, somebody who's going, well, I went to a CDL farm and I'm doing fine. I'm a great driver. Well, that's great, but I'd be willing to bet that it took most of them a lot longer to get situated in the industry than it really should have.
Yeah, that's the whole point I was trying to get across to my people that kept calling me and asking me about it. It's not that they won't become good drivers or eventually they'll catch on and do stuff, but it's a potential for them to get hurt.
Right.
In the beginning.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what they're doing. So right. It's really dangerous. People don't understand. The people that don't drive trucks. Me, for example, I had no idea the dangers on every single corner when I'm driving that truck.
Mm-hmm.
And so they get into it thinking, okay, I'm going to do this in 2 weeks, and then get into an accident. I'll kill somebody, and then that's what I love to see people avoid.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go on and get into your school. Of course, we're not going to name any names here. I don't want to get slander or whatever.
No names. No names.
We're not even using your real name. So we're definitely not going to call out any CDL farms. Okay. So let's describe how this went. Okay. You get to school. Was it close to your house? Is that why you chose it? Could you tell us how much it cost you, if you don't mind telling that?
$1,500.
Okay, well, $1,500. I don't really think that's too far out of line, but it's just enough to well, clearly you don't think it was worth the money, but I know the evil overlord and I paid $600, but we got some grant money from the state and things like that. I remember a local school when I was going back in 97 was charging about $3,000, and it was, I can't remember, 3 or 4 weeks, something like that. I think it was a 4-week school. So, you know, I do know there are companies out there now charging, you know, like you say, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. So 1,500 was probably really, really attractive to you, but you figured out pretty quick. Yeah, that was a mistake. Yeah. All right. What was your first clue that it was a mistake?
Okay. So I called the guy. He said, come on down. I get down to the place, and, it was 1,500. So I had to pay half up front. And then the other half is when I go take a CDL test. Mm-hmm. Move over the money. He tells me, we do not teach you how to drive here. The only thing we're going to teach you here is to pass the test.
Oh.
I said, what? I looked at my friend and I was like, okay, I guess.
Yeah.
So right then, soon as first day, I knew something's not going to be right.
Yeah, he's just basically telling it. Well, at least he was honest, you know, and said, we're just, you know, getting you your license. And, you know, I don't really know what to think about that. You know, my thought is that I remember my school was 6 weeks long, and I did not feel prepared for it. And neither did the evil overlord. You know, even after we were done with 6 weeks, we still felt like we weren't prepared. And I think most drivers would say that the job of the truck driving school is not to teach you to drive. I mean, they have to give you enough skills to get going, but everyone sucks in the beginning, you know. But I think they do want to make sure you are at least safe on the road, you know, whereas yours just seems to be like, well, we're just going to get you your CDL and you're on your own from there. Okay, so how did he describe the process was going to go? Or can you just take us from, you know, say day one? What did he do on day one?
Oh, so day one, it was a truck with I'm going to say 27-footer. I'm not sure if it was 27, 26, not 100% sure. Mm-hmm. But it was a smaller truck. It wasn't a 53. Mm-hmm. And he said, okay, so back up and come forward. And that's what you're going to do for 30 minutes.
Okay. Just put it in reverse.
Yeah. Go backwards. Mm-hmm. Go backwards through the cones and come back forward. Do that for 30 minutes. And I said, okay. So I got in the truck and I ran over all the cones.
Well, of course
I ran
you
over
did.
It's the first time I've never drove a truck before in my life.
Yeah.
He didn't get in the truck and say, hey, move the wheel to the left or move the wheel to the right or, look through the mirrors or anything. He just said, get in the truck and go back.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, for any of you out there listening, if you have never driven a truck or you've never even backed a trailer, everything is opposite when you're in reverse. If you want your trailer to go one way, you have to steer the other way, and it makes no freaking, it makes sense physically, but in the physics world, but when you first step in the truck, it makes no sense whatsoever. And you're all backwards. You're thinking, oh, I want the trailer to go that way, but you're turning the wheel the wrong way. And that is a lot of trial and error. But he just basically had you get in there and go forward and backward, reverse, and first or second gear, something like that.
Oh no, automatic.
Oh, okay. All right.
No stick shift. If you wanted to do, I guess you guys I call it stick shift because I'm from New York and that's how I got called. But I know it's a manual.
Yeah.
They use the word manual.
Yeah, same thing. Same thing.
Same thing. So. That would have cost another $800.
Oh, wow. I've never heard of that. Okay. So in this case, they're actually saying we're going to give you the easiest way. Oh, wow. But they knew that having that stick shift on your license is more, it's more important. They're going to charge you an extra $800. But again, your goal is to get out there and make money fast. You didn't have any knowledge that this was going to cause a problem later on, I'm guessing.
No, I had no idea.
I'm guessing you also didn't think anything weird about the short trailer, the 24, 26, 27 foot or whatever it was. You didn't think anything weird about that either.
I didn't think nothing of it. Like I said, I've been in trucks before, so, but I never drove it. So to me, it was like, okay, this is what they're teaching me in. Okay, they're the teachers, so they must know what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the problem with going in completely blind, and that's why I wrote, the books that I wrote, how to find a great truck driving job and, trucking life. So people would have an idea of what they're getting into before they actually get into it, and, I've stressed over and over on this podcast that it's really important when you go to a truck driving school that you find a school that uses standard equipment, a 53 foot or a 48 foot, because they turn about the same radius, so a 48 or a 53 foot trailer and not an automatic, because as I'm sure you quickly learned, if you only have an automatic license, you are really restricted on what kinds of jobs you can get once you get your license. I'm guessing that's what you experienced.
Well, no, because
no, okay.
As I said at the beginning, because I told you in the beginning that my boss was gonna start a trucking company.
Okay.
And he bought automatic trucks.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
So I was lucky that I was able to just get into the automatic truck and not have to worry about going different places and they're telling me, no, you don't have that type of license, then you can't work for me.
Right.
I was lucky in that sense.
Okay. How about the 27 foot trailer? Cause I know he didn't buy 27 foot trailers, right?
Oh no, that was,
that's a big difference. 27 or 26, whatever it was, to 53. Huge difference.
Oh, it was horrible. The owner of the company got the license the same day I got my license, and he went through the same exact training that I did. So when we went out together.
Uh-huh.
The first time we went out together, he went with me, and we got to New Jersey, which was our first route, the first run.
Oh, dear
Orlando
God.
To New Jersey.
Jersey of all places in your first run. Oh, okay. All right.
But that meant now that I look at, I say, oh my God. But back then it was like, oh my God, nothing. I mean, I don't know where we're going. Going to Jersey? Okay, we're going to Jersey.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Until we got to New Jersey, and we got lost on the turnpike for like 5 hours. But
oh wow, yeah, okay.
And we went to park the trailer at the receiver,
mm-hmm.
and we could not park it. This gentleman came out and said, "You know what? I'll park it for you," because he was probably sitting there waiting for like 30 minutes to get by us to get to park his truck.
Yeah.
So he jumped in the truck and parked it for us. It was horrible.
Oh, yeah. And again, this was because you didn't really, well, let's go back to your school on that. How was the backing training, or was there any?
No, there was no training. As in the beginning, when he saw me crashing into everything that I could find,
okay.
He stood out in front of the truck, and he takes his hand and he goes, go this way, go that way, go this way. But I'm not understanding I'm doing what he's telling me to do,
mm-hmm.
but I don't get the logistics of the whole situation of, when I go this way, the truck goes this way. When I go that way, the truck goes that way. So I'm trying to figure it out. I either turn the wheel too much to the right or turn too much to the left.
This is why time makes a difference when you're choosing a school. The longer it is, typically the more drive time you're going to get. And something like backing, you could tell someone that, hey, turn the opposite way, whichever way you want your trailer to go. But until they actually do that, and like you said, you might get the concept of it, but you're not, you don't really know how far to turn the wheel, and how that's going to make the trailer react behind you. It takes time to do that. I mean, when I had, like I said, I had a 6-week school, and we were out there for every day. At some point in the day, we were out there practicing backing, so by the end of it, we were not great, but we were, at least, sufficient enough where we weren't mowing down cones and dogs and kittens if they were in the way,
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So your actual first experience at your truck driving school was actually just going out and backing up and going forward. It had nothing to do with paperwork or pre-trip inspections or written exams or anything. Did you have any kind of a learner's permit or anything?
Well, I did that on my own. I actually studied at home. I went down and took the test, and I passed it.
Okay.
And then from there, I went to the school.
Was that a requirement of them? They said you have to have your CDL or your learner's permit before you come in?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so that
before you go in.
Okay, so that took a little bit of the time down. Whereas, like my school, they taught us all that stuff. When we were in there, we went through the manual. We went through the state or the federal, the driving manual, whatever, and they taught us all that stuff and went over it and just explained, why certain rules or, certain regulations of the road, like for instance, you want to be in the if there's 2 left-hand turning lanes, you want to be in the far right one, and they explained why that was, instead of, just kind of leaving it up to you to figure it out. So that was kind of nice. I mean, we spent like the first week of our school in nothing but paperwork, and then we all went down and took the test, kind of, together. It was kind of great, because we're all working together at the same time. But you already had that done, so that was not an issue.
Well, the thing is, even with that, like you just finished saying about the turning, if you're going to turn left, if there's 2 lanes, take the one on the far right. I passed that, but I had no idea what it was. I memorized it,
right?
But nobody explained it to me. I was like, okay, I remember that. That's the right question, or that's the right answer. So I pretty much memorized everything, but I had no idea what nothing was.
Yeah. Well, there's a difference between book learning and actually, actual learning. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So your first 30 minutes was just backing up and going forward. What was the rest of your day like on that first day?
Go home.
That was it?
That's it.
30 minutes of backing up and going forward your first day, and that was it.
That was it. You go home. They have 20 other people waiting to do the same thing you just did. So
holy moly.
Yeah, that's it. That's all they did. That's all you do. So you got 30 minutes to go back and forth. The next person gets on, he gets 30 minutes, and so on until the day, till they finish the day. I guess they close at 5:00 or whatever time they close, and that's it.
Okay. Now, please tell me that was just the first day, that every other day after that was a full day. Was it?
Oh, no.
I knew you weren't going to tell me that. Okay. Oh, no. All right. Tell us kind of how the rest of the school went.
Well, the rest of the school was pretty much the same thing. You go, like I said, they had 20 or 30 people trying to do the same thing what I'm trying to do, just get my license. Mm-hmm. So whenever you go there, in the beginning, they teach you until they see that you can back up without hitting the cones and everything. Mm-hmm. And then they move you on to a second track that I used to call second track. I don't know what they called it, but the second track is you pull the truck out of the cones and you back up like you're parking into a 45-degree parking. Uh-huh. And you do that for 15 minutes. And then you got to switch lanes, go from one lane to the other and then one lane to the other. That's it. That's all the driving you do. That's all the driving you do. You don't do no more driving. That's it.
Wow.
And then you go and you learn all the pieces of tire size, how much tire threads. They teach you how to get pretty much. You learn the whole truck, how to do the brake test, how to pass the brake test when you're taking the test, how to check, pretty much everything. The chambers,
Mm-hmm. The full pre-trip inspection thing.
Yeah, they teach you the whole inspection, name for name.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. The school that I went to, now I'm Hispanic. I don't know if you can tell by my accent or not. I don't pretty much, people tell me I don't have an accent or whatever. And Spanish. So what these people did was the Spanish and English words and mix them together so that people that don't speak English can understand the words or the pieces of the truck.
Uh-huh.
But I went to school here in the United States from kindergarten my whole life.
Okay.
I had no clue what they were talking about.
Oh.
Everybody else understood it because they don't speak English. So when they were reading the words, they understood the words. So I literally had to come home and rewrite their whole manual on the pieces in English, proper English, so I can understand what I'm doing.
And they're focusing on Spanish because you're down there in Florida, right? So, there's a lot of Spanish speaking down there. Yeah.
And then from there,
I did
do.
One second here. Let me jump in here. One of the big problems with this, automatically, that every trucker out here on the road has listening to this right now has just heard, is that as far as I know, in the truck driver's manual, the one that FMCSA puts out, it still says that you have to be able to read and write and communicate in English in order to have a CDL. But boy, that is not the experience. I mean, we've all seen it out here on the road. You're standing there in line to get fuel, and the cashier saying, "Hey, what's your truck number?" And they say C. It's like, no, what's your truck number? C. No, I'm not asking for a yes. I want to know your truck number. And they have no idea what you're saying, and I don't even know how. I just don't know how this is happening. I mean, it's clearly in the rules that you have to be able to speak and communicate in English. And I just don't understand how, yet you do hear more and more that they're offering CDL tests in Spanish. And I do understand why they might want to issue the CDL in Spanish, because even though you can speak and communicate in Spanish, you might not be, Spanish is your fluent language, so you're going to understand a test better. I kind of get that, but they still need to have a minimum level of competence speaking English. I don't know how that's happening in today's modern trucking industry, but you even experienced a complete shift where they're not even really talking English now at this point. It's just all Spanish. Crazy.
Right. It's what I call Spanglish.
Spanglish. Okay.
Yeah. What they do is they mix in the Spanish word with the English word. It's been so long that I don't remember exactly all the words they used to use.
Uh-huh.
All right. They will say chamber, right? Chamber.
Uh-huh.
Now it's chamber, right?
Yeah.
But they will say chamber because the Spanish part makes it sound like a CH. Like a SH, like chamber.
Oh.
So the Spanish people will actually pick that up faster than actually saying chamber, because that's completely English. So it is easier for them to get it that way. And they will do that with 80% of the words. So that's how the Spanish people are being able to pass the driving tests, because all they got to say is chamber, and the actual test will say, okay, I know what he means. He didn't say the word correctly, but I know what he's saying.
Okay.
So that's how they're getting away with doing that.
Okay. Well, I'm assuming this worked fine for you because your friend was starting this trucking company, and you didn't really have to go through the pre-trip inspection and the road test and all that stuff that most truck drivers have to go through to get a truck driving job. But all of those other people in your class, they didn't experience that. They had to go to a normal road test, with a big trucking company or whatever. And then they had to go through the pre-trip and name the parts and, point everything out and, put the foot on the slack adjuster, which God knows what they called it, and I'm sure the road tester at that company was like, what is going on here? He probably thought he was in some sort of bizarro world because none of the words he was recognizing any of the words. Have you kept in touch with any of these people you went to school with at all to find out kind of what happened to them?
What happened to them?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, because like I said, that place was where you go in, you do what you got to do, and you don't really talk to anybody because everybody's trying to learn what they need to learn.
Yeah.
And you're out. There's no like a regular school. You'll get to meet somebody. Hey, how you doing? Can you help me here? It really didn't work like that at all.
And see, that is another thing too. If you're in a normal truck driving school, that lasts longer, you are typically going to be paired with some other people, like we had, me and 3 other people. They wouldn't let the evil overlord go with me because they said they figured out over time that you don't put a husband and a wife in a truck at the same time while they're learning, because it's never good. It never ends well. We had other people in there, and it was great because, as we're practicing our shifting out on their little road course there that they had on site. And, once we hit the big road, we're all sitting in the back in the bunk and we're watching the other guy drive, and we see the mistakes he's making. And, we see the things he does right. And the instructor's sitting over there saying, yeah, that was perfect. Or, yeah, oh, you could have adjusted this way, a little bit that way, do this next time. And, we're all learning at the same time, but you're just kind of going in and rushing through it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the thing you were saying actually before about the other guys and how they might be going crazy when they take, the gentlemen that are giving the test, the road test.
Yeah.
The guy that gave me the road test was Hispanic.
Okay. Did he work for the CDL company?
Yes.
Yeah. And again, I think the whole system is flawed with this. I don't think there should be any truck driving school that is allowed to have their students be tested by the instructor at that school. I just don't think that should happen. They should all have to, they should be loaned that truck for this, that you went to school with, or they should bring in an outside tester, to that location. That's what ought to happen. Because there's just too much room for fraud, as you well know. You could get half the stuff wrong on the pre-trip and, botch half of your driving stuff, and they'd still pass you because they work there. That's part of the incentive of these CDL farms, is they don't really care whether you know how to drive. They just need to put that license in your hand.
Right. I have to say, when I took the road test, it wasn't like you thinking like, oh, they're just passing everybody. No, they actually made me go through the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even do that well, to tell you the truth, because my road test was the first time.
Wait a second. Start that again. Test. Wait, you cut out for a second. So were you saying that the time you did your road test to get your CDL was the first time you were actually driving a truck on a public street? Is that what you said?
That is correct.
Holy macaroni.
Yeah. I was so scared. I didn't know what I was doing. It was horrible. I was like, what am I doing? I'm going to fail. At one point, I was so frustrated. I was about to stop the truck and get out and say, you know what? Forget the CDL. I'm leaving. Because I didn't know what I was doing. I was nervous. I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to hit somebody. I'm going to, I don't know what I'm doing here. The guy's not telling me what I'm supposed to be doing, because he's not supposed to be telling me that. So
right. Yeah. At that point see, that's the point of the training. It's like, if you got the training, that's when they're teaching you, saying, you did that wrong, or, hey, you hit that curb, you need to swing a little bit wider here so you don't hit that curb, or, hey, be in this lane, not that lane, because now you're going to cut a car off or whatever. There's all kinds of stuff you can learn in driving. I have recommended this over and over again, and I think you're probably going to agree with me on this, C, but one of the questions you should be asking these truck driving schools when you're talking about it is, you need to find out how much actual drive time you are going to get, time behind the wheel. And again, I want to know how much I'm getting, because that in a typical school, you're going to be getting actually more than that, because, your fellow students are riding along with you, and you're going to be watching a lot, but you're going to, you want to know how much time you're actually going to be getting behind the wheel. I don't know what a good target number is for that, but if you call enough truck driving schools, you're going to start, figuring it out. Again, I don't even know a round figure anymore. I don't remember what it was, but they say, well, you're going to get 20 hours of driving on the road. And then the next company says, well, you're going to get 5 hours of driving at this school. Well, that's a big difference. I think I would prefer to go with the 20 hours of driving on the road, even if that school is a bit longer, because I'm going to be so much more prepared, when you get out.
20 hours is better than 0 hours.
Yeah, 0. Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. So did they have a course or anything like on site that you got to drive the truck around a little bit and just like figure out how to make wide turns and stuff like that?
Absolutely not.
Okay. How long was this school? How long did it take you?
It takes you, well, let me explain. When you get there, you pay half the money, right? Like I said.
Yeah.
So they want you to take the road test as soon as possible so they can get, obviously, the other half of the money.
Yeah.
So when you take the road test is when you pay for the other half of the school.
Uh-huh.
So they kept pushing me, I say about maybe 3 weeks into it. And I have to tell you a little bit backstory on why I didn't do that. But I kept telling them, I'm not ready yet. And they're like, oh, okay, well, you got to hurry up because, I said, but I'm not ready yet. And so, but what I was doing, once I realized that they were not really going to help me, I got all the material together, all the names of the parts of the trucks and everything like that. And I'm a computer expert. I built computers. That's my hobby. I should be making money doing that, but
yeah,
that's another story.
Yeah.
So I have a whole flight simulator set up in my house and everything. So I said, wait a minute, truck driving simulator. I wonder if that will help me. It helped me to a certain extent, but I didn't have the right tools to get it. So I went and bought all the tools that I needed for it, which is the steering wheel, the pedals, the stick shift, and all that.
You built your own simulator.
Exactly. I built my own simulator. So I was teaching myself on that with the YouTube videos and the books and whatever they gave me there at the school. And I told a friend of mine, he has a pickup truck. I said, hey, you only get 30 minutes in the school. Why don't we rent a U-Haul and hook it up to the back of your truck and go to an empty lot and put some cones out there and practice on that? Just so we can pass. So when the time comes to pass the test, we'll be ready.
First
we did that.
Well, kudos to you for taking that initiative because a lot of people would have just dropped and gave up, but it is so sad that you have to take these things into your own hands. I mean, now most of us, when we were in CDL school, we did have to study outside of class also. That there's nothing wrong with that. You learn the books and stuff like that and all the rules and all the God knows the pre-trip took forever for me to learn all those parts and stuff like that. But to actually have to learn the driving and do it on your own because they're not teaching you is amazing. Because again, you're not getting the experience in a full size rig, which is what you're going to be driving when you get out of school. That's crazy.
Right. Yeah, it is. But that's the whole point of us doing this podcast right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's because you don't get anything. You don't really get anything. All you do is learn the parts of the truck, learn how to back up the truck, and not hit the cones. And as long as you can do that, you pass.
Yeah. I'm gonna say that, I've talked to plenty of drivers out here over the years, and I have never heard anything quite this bad as far as CDL farms. I mean, even like an average CDL farm that would kick you, they kick you out in 2 weeks. That's a set length for the school. Hey, 2 weeks, we'll have your license. They've got some structure to it. There's like, okay, the first 2 days is all we're going to give you to get your learner's permit, and then we're going to take you out on a little road course. We got a circle out here, a circle track, and we're going to have you practice shifting, for 2 days or 3 days or whatever, and then the last week may be spent just driving around with your instructor and learning how to actually drive on the road. There's some structure to it, and even though you're not getting a lot of everything, you're not getting a lot of drive time, you're not getting a lot of paperwork and, lecture time. You're not getting to watch defensive driving videos and things like that. You're getting some of it. You're just not getting enough in most of those schools. But you're not getting any of that.
No.
You didn't get
this school is not. Yeah, this school's got nothing to do with that. It's just pretty much you're on your own. Learn it, get it, and because they want you out as soon as possible. But I I am a little bit more, I don't know, I don't want to say more intelligent because those guys are pretty smart that were there. But I didn't jump to it like as fast as most of the people that went there 2 or 3 weeks. I actually took 5 months to do it.
5 months?
I took 5 months. I took 5 months because I was still working. I knew I had about another 8 months to go on my job. So I wasn't really in a rush. So I said, you know what? If I'm going to learn this on my own, I'm going to take my time. I already gave you the money for the classes. Just like when they told me when I walked in the door and they said, hey, we're not going to teach you how to drive. But they never told me, you know, it takes 3 weeks and then you have to.
Right.
They told me whenever you're ready to take the road test, you let us know. So I took 5 months. They were not happy about that.
No, I bet they weren't. Matter of fact, they probably made some rules changes after that, you know, and saying, hey, you know, you got a time limit. That wouldn't surprise me one whatsoever, because they're not making money when you're filling up a spot. Of course, you're not really filling up a spot that much. You're out there practicing on your own, you know, and doing your own simulator stuff like that, and, you know, taking your time. Well, again, kudos to you for getting, you know, taking that time to actually do it, you know.
Just a little thing about the simulator thing for people that want to try it. You know, because some people like, you know, they might want to try it.
Yeah.
It helps you in theory, as far as like backing up and teaching you, you know. But when you actually get in the truck, that all goes to the garbage.
Yeah.
They all goes to the garbage. But you're aware of what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does. Yeah. I mean, I remember when I got in with, you know, my first company, and I got in with my trainer, and he said, so you're fresh out of truck driving school, huh? And I said, yeah. And he goes, forget everything you knew. I'm going to teach you how to truck. And it was like, I mean, I get what he was saying, but a lot of stuff I learned in truck driving school, I took with me, but I understood what he was saying. You know, it's like, okay, they taught you how to do it by the book. We're going to show you how things actually work out here, you know. But you didn't. Okay. Okay. I'm just flabbergasted here. I'm amazed at this. I mean,
I told you at the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah.
What did I tell you?
Yeah. Well, one quote I thought you said was funny. You haven't said it again, but you said, I didn't even really consider it a school. And I totally get that now.
Yeah.
Holy macaroni.
It was horrible. It was horrible.
Okay.
But the bad part of it is that's just the beginning. And then once you get in the truck, it's like a whole other world.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So let's take just a second here, and let me again reiterate, for anybody who is listening to this, who is considering to get into trucking, make sure you ask a lot of questions of your truck driving school that you're considering. Ask them what the curriculum is. Ask them to see the schedule of the way things are going to be laid out, because I guarantee you, if C had done this, they would have not had any structured plan laid out, you know. So, and also make sure you are going to be driving equipment that you are actually going to be driving out on the open road. Make sure they have 48 footers or 53 footers. Make sure they have stick shifts, you know, manual transmissions. I don't know if a lot of people probably don't know this, but if you take your CDL test in an automatic, you are restricted to automatic only. And there are a lot more companies out here nowadays who actually have an automatic, you know, a lot of automatic transmissions in their fleet, but they're limited. You know, we have a bunch of them at my company, but you know, the brand new guys are coming in and getting these brand new newbies to the trucking industry coming in, and they're getting, because they only have an automatic license, they're getting a brand new truck because the newer ones are automatics, and they got some, you know, older guy who would like to have an automatic, is tired of shifting. He can't get one, you know? So, but you know, you're just limited. I mean, you know, cause even if a fleet has a bunch of automatics, they might not be able to guarantee you an automatic truck. I'm just saying, if you're going to go to truck driving school, learn to do it the right way. Cause you never know, you know, say your automatic breaks down and they give you a different truck and it's a stick. What are you going to do now? What, are you just going to sit in a foreign state somewhere, in a hotel until your truck's fixed, even if it's going to be, 4 weeks for your truck's fixed because you can't drive a stick shift? There's just all kinds of scenarios. So please, I'm just begging anybody listening, going to truck driving school, if you're going to do it right. Ask lots of questions. That's what this podcast is for. Send me an email at truckerdump@gmail.com. I'll answer your dang question. I don't want anybody to have to go through the same stuff C did. Oh boy. All right. Okay. Anything else to add to that there, C?
No, if the price is too low, don't go.
Yeah. Well, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
But I said that, but then I said here, and like I said, the Evil Overlord and I only paid $600, but we felt like we had a pretty good, training. Now, again, we did not feel like we were ready. As a matter of fact, the first company we went to, we told them, we said, man, we don't even know if we're going to pass this test. We were so freaked out, the road test at our first company. And we took the test, and afterwards he said, yeah, you ground some gears. Yeah, you had some problems shifting. You had a little bit of trouble with lane control, things like that. But he goes, trust me, you guys got your money's worth out of your school because, you guys were a lot better, on the initial road test than most newbies are. As a matter of fact, at my first truck driving job, they sent a guy home from orientation because he could not pass the driving test. He could upshift, but every time he went to downshift, he would grind gears and have to come to a complete stop and pull to the curb. He also had no lane control because he had learned in a shorter truck or shorter trailer. So, you're shooting yourself in the foot if you don't go to a school that actually has the equipment that you're going to be doing in your real job. Okay, we'll just leave it at that. Wow. Okay, so again, you don't have quite the same issues that a lot of people are going to have because you're working for a friend. Okay, so he puts you in a truck and you go to Jersey. You've already said you got lost on the turnpike for 5 months. I'm guessing you had no map reading skills.
Well, okay. Here's the funny part.
Mm-hmm.
I told you before, I've been in the industry. I did deliveries with my uncle was a owner operator. So we did home deliveries for a furniture store. I worked for him for 10 years. I was the only one that knew how to read the maps. So the map thing wasn't the problem.
Okay.
The problem was, and I had a GPS and I know how to read a map. So the problem was that I was so scared that when I got to the turnpike and it said New Jersey, New York, it had 5 different signs, right? When you get out, you pay the toll, and when you come out, there's 5 different signs and there's 5 different ways you can go. I'm so nervous. I'm not even really paying attention to the signs. I'm just trying to follow the actual GPS thing, which I know is incorrect. Never follow the GPS little line, the little car on the GPS.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm so nervous. I'm not really paying attention. I'm not paying attention to the road. I'm just scared. So I'm going, and I went to New York and had to come back around. And then I did it again. And I went to the other side and I did it again. I did it 4 times before I actually got to where I was supposed to go.
Oh, my. Yeah. Well, like you say, you're so nervous, you're just really trying to focus on not hitting other cars, especially in those toll plazas, and you're coming out of there and everybody's, coming out of 15 toll plazas and they're trying to make it, into 5 different lanes to go, it's like.
Exactly. That's what I was scared of. I was keep looking to my side and I see cars cutting me off left and right, and I'm trying to follow the signs and I'm trying to look at the GPS, and I'm nervous, and I'm driving this big truck for the first time in my life. I don't know if I made it through the turnstile correctly. A turnstile. It's in and out of train. The toll booth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking in the back of me and I'm seeing the truck is so close to the cement on the left and the right. I'm saying, hey, is this truck even going to make it past this? What am I doing? It was horrible. It was horrible. Yeah.
Just the width of that thing, 8.5 feet wide, and some of those toll booths, even to this day, I mean, you only have, 6-7 inches on each side. They're just tight. That's the way it is. And I I'm past the point where I actually remember, how scared I was, trying to, and how slow I was driving, just trying to, through one of those things to make sure I didn't hit anything. Oh, dear God. And what makes this worse is, again, for you non-truckers out here, you can probably imagine one of the worst places to drive in this country is in big cities. Heavily congested areas. And now C is taking off on his first run, and he ends up in New Jersey and New York, which, man, there's no place worse to drive. Honestly, there's just no place worse to drive than there. And you're driving around not knowing what the heck you're doing.
No.
Man.
It was horrible. It was horrible. And that first trip that I went out, I was with somebody else, but not really, because he knew exactly what I knew.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Well,
a lot of companies do put, a lot of trucking companies will put two new drivers together, and they do it for that reason. Like one guy might have remembered something, that the other guy didn't. And then you can just kind of play off each other, especially, even doing just simple stuff like, your Qualcomm or your net, PeopleNet or whatever, the e-logs, that you might not remember to do it, and they might remember how to do a particular aspect. So there is some benefit of training with somebody else like that, right out of school, and then, getting paired teaming with somebody else for a little while. But man, that's gotta really suck when it's, you're just shoved with some other person you don't know, at least you knew the guy you were with.
Oh yeah.
So you finally find your first place, and like you said, you couldn't even back into your first dock because, again, I have spoken on here about, coping with rookie drivers and trying to help them out as much as possible and giving them some leeway, giving them some slack, give them some extra time. You can tell when somebody's a rookie and they're having trouble backing in. But at some point it does get frustrating. So how long did you guys try to back that trailer in before you gave up, or before that guy came to your rescue, I should say?
I think it was about a good hour and a half.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason nobody helped us because there was no other trucks coming in to the area where we were trying to park. But as soon as that one gentleman saw that we were there for like 20 minutes, that he was standing there for about 20 minutes, he decided, well, these guys are not going to be able to park this truck. Let me go help him. And he got in the truck, and thank God he helped him. He helped me. Well,
that gives me a little hope for this world, because I was thinking, God, nobody helped you for an hour and a half, because I know I would have, at that point. So once somebody came in, he gave you a chance. He didn't know you'd already been there for, over an hour trying.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the thing too. When you're new, it's so hard to ask for help. So many people have such a hard time asking for help when they need to. If you're a new truck driver out here, please ask for help when you need it, because somebody, truck drivers in general like to help. They like to show their knowledge, about these things and show their skills, and they will, not necessarily back in for you, but they will help you. They give you some helpful hints. If you go up there and say, hey, can you give me some pointers on this backing so I can get in? Or how'd you watch them back in for you, and you go, how'd you do that adjustment? How'd you get that in so well? Maybe he can give you some pointers, things like that. Just ask lots of questions. I'm on the phone every night with the guys that I drive with, and they sometimes get annoyed because I ask so many questions, and I've been doing this job for 24 years, and I still ask lots of questions, because I've got guys who've driven there for 40 years, and, you can always be learning something. So don't be afraid to ask. Wow. Okay.
Well, I wish I would have found your podcast before. I found your podcast after I started driving on the road.
Mm-hmm.
But if it wasn't for your podcast, I was lost already. I'm not going to lie, but I would have been a lot lost. A lot of small details, which I had no idea about. Just by listening to your podcast, I started from the beginning, and I listen and I started understand. Okay, so when I get to the gas station, get my gas and pull up. Don't stay there. I had no idea about that. Of course, I didn't know. So don't take your 30-minute breaks there. Okay, well, I won't take my 30. So it's little small stuff like that that help me understand. Okay, be courteous to your driver. The other guy has to go. Move the truck. Don't stay in the lane for too long. Let your guy pass you. If you see, that episode you did about turtle racing, made me understand. Okay, I see you guy pull up. I hit my brakes. I let him pass me. I let him go.
Oh man, thank you, because that is something that new drivers especially have such a problem with. Like I said in that podcast, it's just like you have this race mentality when you're out here and brand new. It's like, okay, can't let that guy pass me. Well, why not? What's it make any dang difference, Yeah. And that's kind of the idea of the podcast, and actually both my books, is you're going to learn this stuff eventually, but why wait? If you can learn it ahead of time, you're going to cause yourself a lot less stress. So I appreciate that you got some good stuff out of the podcast. I hope, I love it when I hear from somebody new to the trucking industry and they're already listening before they even get into the truck. It shows that they really have a desire to learn it and want to, not stumble through life, because you don't want to be stumbling through and trying to figure things out when you're driving an 40-ton rig, right?
No, definitely not.
Wow.
It's funny. I didn't even know how to add fuel to the second tank. That's how bad it was for me.
Yeah, it's so much of that little practical stuff. Sometimes I think when I do a podcast that it's just I'm dumbing it down too much. It's like
no. You're doing a great job, man.
Okay, yeah.
No, you're doing a great job because, like I said, there's a lot of other things that I learned. I just can't remember it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm talking a lot of stuff, that I learned how to be courteous, how not to, throw the piss bottles out in the street. Be courteous to the other drivers. All kinds of different stuff. I can't remember right now. I've got so many things in my head, but it really, really helped me out. How to secure your truck at night when you're stopping a bad spot. That's with the seatbelt thing, and I would have never known all that other stuff, But,
yeah. Well, it's stuff you learn over time just by talking to truck drivers and things like that. That's what I'm saying. It's, just kind of a jump start. And, the more you talk to people and ask questions, but
that's the point. It could take you 10 years to learn all that stuff you put in your whole podcast together.
Exactly. It doesn't take that long to binge listen to 100, and this will be 147. It doesn't take that long to binge listen to 147 episodes when you're driving a truck.
No, it doesn't.
You can get through them real fast, and usually, I get that message afterwards, saying, "Hey, I just binge listened to your whole archive. When's the next one coming out?" I say, "A month," and they're like, "Wait,
yeah.
Yeah, I've been listening to it.
I ain't gonna lie, that happened to me. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's over. I have to wait another month now.
I'm sorry. I do the best I can. Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, let's move on. Another mistake I think you made. I think I remember getting an email from you asking about 1099 companies. Is that correct? Was that you?
Yeah, that was me.
Okay. So was this your first job that you were at 1099 with your friend there?
Yeah, I'm still there.
Oh, you're still there.
I'm still here. Yeah.
So you're still doing it. Okay. Cause I believe at the time when you told me that you were at a 1099, I said, run. Was that, is that about accurate?
Right. Yeah, you did. But then again, you didn't know the whole details of the situation and why I was there.
Right.
Pretty much that would have been the only job I would have probably gotten out of that when I first got my CDL.
Yeah. Well, and the good news is, you're, well, let me back up here for the non-trucker who doesn't know what the 1099 company is. It's basically, your friend owns the company. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But he hires you, but you are treated as an independent. Is that right?
Independent. Yes.
Okay. So that means that they are not holding out Social Security taxes. They are not holding out any of your payroll. You are responsible for paying all your taxes. You are not going to get health benefits and things like that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So again, it's fine for C. It's working out for him because he clearly has a good head on his shoulders. You know, he's a computer guy, so he understands things like this. But a lot of people coming into this industry, you know, coming from a factory job or whatever, they don't even know what's going on. And, you know, and if they go to a 1099 company, and often, by the way, you'll know a 1099 company because they will they'll pay you more per mile than the average company will. So say the average company is paying 50 cents a mile, you know, that you're looking at. And then all of a sudden one's offering you 75 cents a mile. Well, guess what? That's probably a 1099 company. And the reason they're paying you extra is because they're not paying your taxes and stuff. But you can really get yourself in trouble if you do not, you know what you're doing. And, you know, you need to hold back money for maintenance and taxes. And, you know, you need to get your own benefits, which is going to be more expensive because you're having to do that. So just a warning to anybody who is interested in a 1099 company. Normally I say run. I would still ask C to run, but he seems to know what he's doing. So I'm just going to leave him alone on that.
Well, the thing is, you're right about the benefits. That's pretty hard. That's a pretty hard one. That hits you pretty hard because it's pretty expensive for me and my wife. It's really expensive. And the taxes, so I've been doing my own taxes since, I don't know, 20, 30 years that I can remember. So that I don't have a problem with. I know what I have to do there.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty good with that. But the health benefits is the one that's really knocking me down.
Yeah. As
far as paying that bill every month. It's really, really expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you like contributing enough to, you know, because the taxes aren't being taken out and stuff, you're not going to be eligible for hardly any Social Security when it comes time for you to retire. So is that an issue also, or are you taking care of that?
Last year I didn't because I was still trying to figure out what, but I've been doing it all my life. Like I said, I've been doing 1099 and I have been putting into my Social Security.
Yeah.
But the last year I didn't, only because I didn't understand the tax bracket went up a little bit because I made a little more money than I was making before.
Uh-huh.
So it kind of threw me off a little bit. So I ended up having to pay a little more than I was supposed to.
Uh-huh.
I normally pay $2,000 a year.
Uh-huh.
Since I made over the bracket that I did the year before, I ended up paying around, say, maybe $3,000. So that $1,000 that I would have taken and put it towards towards some of the Social Security.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can't do that this year because I went over.
Right.
But that was my fault.
Yeah.
That was my fault for not looking into it.
Yeah. Well, again, most people aren't going to bother to look into it. They're going to wait at the end of the year, not know it's coming, and then boom, they're hit with a tax bill, you know, and that really stinks.
Right.
So,
right.
Well, you know, the advantage of what you're doing right now, you know, you're understanding all this 1099 stuff, but you're also you've been driving for about a year now. Is that right? A little over a year?
Yeah, over a year. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm taking it you're feeling a lot more comfortable in the truck now?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Yeah. Well, see, you know, and just again, you know, this is why, you know, everybody says in the industry that the first 6 months is so crucial, that more new truck drivers will drop out of the industry in the first 6 months than any other time, because you know, you try to give it enough time, but at some point you just get frustrated because you're still sucking at it, you know? So, you know, once you get past that 6 month hump, if you can get that year of experience in, and I'm not just talking to you, C, you know, but anybody out there, if you can get that first years of experience in, now you open up a whole bunch of possibilities with new trucking companies. You've got more experience. You're not going to be so nervous when you go to your road test at a new company, things like that. But I'm guessing there is still a little bit of fear for you, C, if you were to ever go anywhere else, because what if they have manual transmissions?
Actually, I was looking into going somewhere at my 2 year mark. So I know that with 1 year experience, I've already been checking it out. I've been looking at it, and it's 1 year experience. You don't make that much money, and I'm making pretty good money now. Mm-hmm. So if I go to now, I say if I leave now, I'm gonna drop back a lot. So I said, let me wait another year, which is coming up now. But I did look into a lot of companies, and a lot of companies. I'm gonna say, pretty much every company that I call, they all have automatics.
Really?
Yeah, I've called, I don't know if I want to say names, but just think about all the major companies that you can think of.
Yeah.
And every single one of them has automatic trucks now.
Yeah, I'll go with that because, like I said, a lot of the big fleets will. If you are wanting to go with the big fleet, that's probably, just fine and dandy. But if you are, say you're looking at some little mom and pop in your area that you've been talking to the guy, and you look at his and he's more old school, he's not going to have any automatics. So again, it's all goes back to just being, not every truck in the trucking industry is an automatic, but there are a lot more manuals than there are automatics that may be swinging a little bit. But, again, if you can get your license with a stick shift, everything's gravy from there because you can get that job and you'll actually know what you're doing. And even after, if you get the license and say you go to your first company, you drive an automatic. I have a friend who did that. He got his license, with a manual. He went for a year that he drove an automatic, and then he, got a different job and had to take a road test in a stick, and it came back to him, so, it sticks with you. So,
I mean, I could always get it if I want it. If, I have to pay for it, of course. But if I was to get into a situation where they say, hey, I'm going to pay you, $2 a mile, I'll go down there and get that automatic.
Yeah.
I mean, not automatic. So,
yeah, the manual. You mean,
clutch.
You mean
Manual,
if they say, hey, go get your manual if you go get your manual license, I'll pay you a lot more than what you're paying now. You'd be on a lickety split. Yeah. But then again, like I said, you've shown the motivation to go out and learn yourself, teach yourself the things you need to do. And I just don't look at humanity quite as well as I used to, considering the way the world is today. But, I just don't think a lot of people want to do that. I don't think they have the drive to do that, and they're just going to limit themselves to what they know. They're not going to expand out.
Like I said, me and the other gentleman, we went to the school together at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But he did not do what I did.
What do you mean?
Like, he did not study like I studied. He did not get the flight simulator,
mm-hmm. Driving
truck simulator.
Mm-hmm.
He did not practice on the road, back it up with the U-Haul.
Right.
He didn't do any of that stuff. He still passed the test, but he can't drive that well.
Yeah.
But it's not the same. As a matter of fact, he's not even driving at all. He's just sitting at home.
Well, if he's the owner of the company, I guess he,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the way that works. Sometimes they get to sit at home and do nothing and I won't say they're not doing anything. They're load planning and all that other stuff, but.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That was pretty bold of him actually to come, straight out of being a musician and, go to be a truck owner. That's a whole different ball game. I always advise getting some experience in a company truck before you, go out on your own. It's just there's too much to learn,
He feels it. He understands how hard it is now. He didn't when he did it when he got the trucks, but he does now.
Yeah. Wow.
It's pretty rough.
Yeah. Okay. Now we've talked about your first trip out, but you also mentioned something about your second trip. What happened on your second trip?
I think that one was worse than the first trip. Well, they sent me out.
Worse than Jersey and New York. Okay, this ought to be good.
Yeah, I think it was in Ohio. I don't even remember right now. And I went there, and I'm looking at the map, and I'm looking at the GPS, and I'm looking at Google Earth, and it's pointing me to a dirt road, and I'm looking at the address, and I'm like, there's no buildings there. This doesn't make sense. But I'm gonna go there because everybody's telling me to go to the spot. When I get there, I said, I see an entrance. I said, okay, wait. So I called the receiver. I said, listen, I'm at the front. He says, okay, what you're going to do is you're going to come in through there. And when you get to the stop sign, make a left. So I start driving in as she is explaining to me how to get to her inside. I didn't know it was a cave.
Oh.
So as I'm driving in the cave and she's giving me the instructions, I lose connection. Of course, I'm on the ground. I don't have any cell phone service.
Yeah.
So I'm looking around. Now I have to turn this truck that I've only driven, I don't know, maybe 5-6 times before that.
My God. Yeah.
And I got to make a left-hand turn, and I'll make the turn. And of course, I couldn't make the turn. I'm going to hit the white poles full of sand. I don't know what that is. Salt, sand.
Yeah.
Inside these caves.
It's rock usually.
It's rock, but it looks like pillars of salt because they're so white.
Yeah.
So it took me about 20 minutes just to get in and out of that. And it took me about 3 hours to get around and find the place where I was supposed to go. And finally, what I did was I didn't know what I was going to do, a left or right, get stuck or anything. So I said, you know what? I'm going to park the truck, put the blinkers, and I'm going to start walking and asking somebody. Finally, I found the place. And it took me 2 hours to back up into the spot there. I don't know if you ever been there. You probably have been there.
I have not been to any caves in Ohio, but we have plenty of them right here in Missouri. So I have.
I think that's where I was. I think I was in Missouri.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Like I said, I don't remember exactly where it was, but that was not fun.
Yeah, we've got some around here. There's some in Springfield. There's some in Kansas City. There's some in Carthage, Missouri. Probably lots of other places I'm not even thinking about right now. But yeah, man, I cannot imagine this because caves are nerve-wracking. I mean, even guys like me who've been driving for 23 years, being when we go into a cave, we're very cautious. I'm confident I can do it, but we're very, very cautious. You got to be very careful. You got to use every inch available to you. But you coming from your background where you got no road time at your school, and you don't really even know how wide of a turn you can make. I just cannot. It doesn't surprise me at all that it took you 3 hours to get back there, and then another 2 to back in. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was horrible. I don't recommend any newbies going down, or rookies going down there.
But you don't have a choice. I mean, you took the load, you didn't know. What are you going to do?
Yeah,
pawn it off on somebody else when you get there? I mean, you got to finish the job.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it doesn't help that my company's brand new also. They didn't even know where I was going. So,
right.
If you're working for a bigger company, they might say, Todd's been here only for 6 months. Let's not send them that way yet.
Right.
Let's send them this way.
Yeah.
These people, they just grab whatever load they can get and say, hey, go do this load.
Yeah. All right. Well, we need to wrap this up. So if you had to give advice to these musicians, friends of yours, or anybody else who is getting into the trucking industry, what would be your advice on truck driving schools? Are you looking for time of the school? Well, obviously it's not just time because you took 5 months. It's just, how would you go about finding a good truck driving school?
It's kind of difficult because you'll have a lot of the same schools that I went to putting their names out here on billboards and all that. I say the best thing to do, it might cost a little more money, but go with the big name schools like Roadmaster or whatever,
Yeah.
Or even, I'm talking about here in Florida. I know there's probably different ones at different states, but the Roadmaster's the biggest one here.
Yeah.
And also, the big companies also could, train you, send you through school, and then you work for them for, I think it's 8 months to a year, and then you can break the contract. I say those would be your 2 best bets.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you on the company sponsored schools. A lot of times what I like to warn about those because you need to make sure before you, the school is paid for. Great. That sounds really enticing, but you need to make sure you're going to be happy at that company for a year, because if not, you're going to owe every bit of that money, and so you really need to make sure that that company is going to pay you a decent wage when you get out. I mean, if you're going to truck driving school and they're paying for it, or they're sponsoring it themselves, they're doing it in-house, but they're only going to pay you, 22 cents a mile when you get out. That's going to make your first year really hard. You might actually be better off to go with a third party like the Roadmasters, like you were talking about, and, paying for it out of pocket. A lot of them actually have financing now, to kind of help you out with that. And then once you get out of school like that, you have all kinds of options. You're not restricted to one, to just the company who trained you to do. So I usually suggest to go to a third party if possible. I think that's just the best option. Now, if your only option is a company sponsored school, it's better than nothing. But like I said, just make sure the company is going to pay you a decent wage and, have a decent reputation, before you go that route.
If you get a better training, I don't know, I haven't been through that, but it looks like the way they got it structured, as I've seen, the companies that do train, you do get a way better training. And when you come out, you have somebody with you for 2 or 3 months, I guess. I'm not sure. And teaching you the ropes on the road. Not like me, where they put me on, I got on the road and that's it. My first 300 miles was in a 53-foot trailer. I'm by myself. I have no clue what I'm doing. So and if you don't have an option where you could pay for these Roadmasters, I say that the last best, before going to what I did, I would rather have somebody send somebody over to one of the big companies and help them that way. Yeah.
And pretty much every company, if you're a brand new person out of any kind of school, is going to put you with a trainer for, anywhere from, 2 to 6 weeks or something like that. It just depends on how well you progress. And that's, like my trainer said, that's where you're really going to learn how to truck, and they're going to be the judge on, when you're ready to hit the road by yourself. Some of them also do that thing where you team with somebody else for a while. That can be effective, but I would rather, see a situation where you're with an experienced driver for a length of time. And hopefully that experienced driver actually teaches you something instead of using you as a mileage getter, where they're sleeping the whole time instead of actually sitting up there in the cab with you. Another suggestion I would give to a lot of people, and the way we went, is through the way the Evil Overlord and I went through a community college, or a technical college. Also, a lot of those have truck driving courses, and because those are state sponsored schools, usually it is they have a definite curriculum out. They have a steady schedule. You're going to see what you're going to learn. It's a decent amount of time, that you're going over it covers a decent amount of time and give you some time behind the wheel. So I would also suggest that. And, being a community college, it probably won't be that expensive either. So I would go with that also.
That sounds good.
All right. So as we finish up, see, you've had a rough first year in trucking. Do you regret making that decision to get into trucking?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I love the job now. Uh-huh. I love the job. I like being on the roads. I like the pay.
Uh-huh.
Pay's pretty decent.
Yep.
I like getting up in the morning and watching the sunrise and watching the sunset as I'm driving. I love all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't regret it. I'm having a great time on the road.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a family man. I've been married for 38 years with my wife, and I have 3 kids and 5 grandkids. So that's the only part that I missed them,
Yeah. Well, the beauty of that is, once you get some experience under your belt, you could find some more local work where you're home more often, like for instance, I'm doing this LTL, and, I can be home every weekend. And, if once I get enough seniority, I can, bid on a certain run and even be home every day, and have more of a life and make really good money, so you do open up some options once you get that first year in, So you could, have some more home time. Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
I've applied for a few places. I don't want to say no names.
Yeah.
Pretty good companies.
Good.
Home every night.
Yeah.
They're asking for 30 months experience. So
Uh-huh.
I'm almost there. I'm at 18 months now. So I got a little more to go.
Awesome. Okay. Well, do you have any advice for anybody, that's considering coming into the industry? What would be your advice to them if you had, 5 minutes to give them advice?
First thing I would say make sure you really do want to do this job, because it's not an easy job.
Yeah.
It's very hard, especially in the beginning. It's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
And get the proper training. That's the two most important things. Because if you don't know what you're getting into, and you spend all this money, and then you get into the job and don't like it, you just wasted 6 months of your life and you didn't do anything. Now you got to start over and find something else to do.
Yeah.
So my first thing is do your homework on the job itself, and then go to the proper school. Don't try to cut corners, because you can hurt yourself and you can hurt somebody else, and you can end up in jail for the rest of your life if you do it wrong.
Yeah.
So it's very important to get it right.
Yeah. Boy, it is. Yeah. And, I honestly did not mean to turn this into a book pimping session, but I am going to, anybody who's new out there to the industry, or you are considering getting into the industry, I had one really cool review for my books that said every new truck driver coming into the industry should read this book. And I thought that's the whole reason I wrote the book. So if you're interested in what the trucking lifestyle is like C said, you don't want to come out here just on a wing and a prayer. You get an idea of what it's like. And I think my book, Trucking Life, explains that really well. And then the second book I have is How to Find a Great Truck Driving Job. And that walks you through all of the terms that you don't understand when you're brand new. It, explains how to compare a salary to a mileage pay to a percentage pay, all that kind of stuff, all the questions you need to be asking an employer, because, like if C went out to get a new job right now, even having a years of experience, he probably wouldn't know all of the questions to ask. Well, that book has a list of questions to ask. So I tell you what I'm going to do, and I've been considering doing this. Both of my books, I sell them typically for 25% off. That's $14.98. I am going to run a special on this, for a little while. It's going to be a limited time. I'm going to do both books for the price of one. So both books for the price of one. And again, I don't know how long that's going to be up, but if you're interested in that, just go to abouttruckdriving.com/combo. Or just go to abouttruckdriving.com and you'll see the book link there, and you can find that there. And I will have that set up, and hopefully we will get some new truck drivers in the industry. Hopefully they will enjoy those books. And there is an audio aspect of the Trucking Life book, by the way. It's 9.25 hours. That comes free with the text, with the ebook. So anyway, sorry about that. C, didn't mean to hijack that and make it into an ad, but there. That's how I've been rolling lately. I've been lots of ads, affiliate links, and pay me.
Hey, I love that book. That book, the first one, I loved it. I haven't got the second one yet. Well, maybe now I'll get the second one.
Well, if you're looking for it, if you're looking for a new job, I would suggest it to anybody who's new in the industry. And honestly, if you're an old hand in the industry and you know the right questions to ask, I also have an option where you can just get the checklist, so you actually can go run down through the questionnaire. So because most of the time, as I've said on this podcast before, most of the time when I have been unhappy with a company for whatever reason that I started with, it's because I didn't ask all the questions. I didn't ask that question, and you get on a phone call and you're talking to them for, 10 minutes and you think you got all the answers, but you don't. There's so many more questions you need to ask if you, if you're going to, be happy with the job.
You're right, because like I told you, I was looking into getting different jobs and calling different companies, and I had a whole bunch of questions in my head. And when I got on the phone with them, I asked them 2 or 3 questions and hung up. And I said, "Oh man, I forgot to ask them if they had an APU. I forgot to ask them if they had a converter."
Yeah.
Before you know it.
You're right. You get flustered, or, they go on their spiel and you don't, they go into their spiel and you think you got everything answered, but you don't, That's why, like I said, it's important to have a list of questions when you go into that thing. And, most people are not going to bother to write down that list of questions. And I put in a lot of time and effort, to that. And I think, I don't even remember what I'm charging for that thing, $2-3, something like that, it's all for the list. So anybody check that out, about truckdriving.com is the link there. All right. Well, see, I really appreciate you coming on and talking to this, and I really appreciate you bringing this to my attention. I'm always looking for new ideas for the podcast. And, when you brought this up, thought, hey, let's talk to some newbies, people coming into the industry about, getting good training. I thought that is a great idea, and we jumped on it right away. So again, thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate all your insight on this, and just appreciate you being a truck driver and pushing through all of the crap you had to deal with to get out here.
Oh, thank you for having me on.
Okay, we'll talk to you later. Hey, don't be a stranger in the Slack group, man.
I know, man, but it's been a rough year, man.
I know. Well, a lot of those questions and stuff, it's a great place to vent. We would have loved it if you'd have told us that your second run was in a cave. We would have just loved that. All right. Anyway, don't be a stranger, man.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Take it easy. Well, now that was a tragic tale, wasn't it? Hey, if you were listening and you have a similar story, having to do with a truck driving school, whether it be a long one that was just horrible or a really short one that was horrible, please send me an email and tell me that quick story. Email me at truckerdump@gmail.com, and I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to follow up a little bit within the next episode and just see what anybody else has to say about their school. Like I said, mine was pretty great. I was pretty happy with the outcome of mine, and I'm just curious how yours went. And, if it took you as long as it did C to recover from something like that. So again, I'm just going to stress that if you are looking to get into truck driving, do your due diligence before you get into the industry. Ask truckers about what the lifestyle is like. Pick up my book, Trucking Life. That will help if you don't know any truckers, don't have any access to them, or you just don't have enough time to spend with them. And another important thing I always like to say is make sure, if you are married, that your spouse is in on this decision. Do not make this decision lightly, because there is a lot of divorce in the trucking industry. And if you go into it and just say, I'm doing this trucking thing, you can deal with it, stay home with the kids or whatever. That's not going to end well for you. So make sure you are both on board for this if you get into it. And then if it is time for you to actually find a truck driving school, do the research. Don't just take the closest one to your house. You have to do the research on this and find out who is going to be the best school for you. Look at reviews if you can find reviews. Type in the name of the school in Google and review, and just, you got to do your due diligence, or you're going to suffer like C did. And we don't want that. That was the whole point of this episode. That was why C brought it up to me and why we thought it was important to bring that message to you. So I'll get off my soapbox. Let's say we get on with some listener feedback. Where's that stinking delivery driver? Late again.
Hey, yo, bud, where do you want this load of feedback?
Next time, show up on time, you little punk. All right. I just got 3 quick emails for you. First, we're going to hear from Eric Lindow. If you'll remember correctly, in the last episode, he said that he really did not like that golf swing. What golf swing, you ask? I don't know. But anyway, he wrote back and says, well, you made me actually laugh out loud. Funny stuff. Usually your intro is correct in stating a pathetic attempt at humor. Yeah. Well, I put that on there for a reason there, Eric. He writes, I'm just kidding, of course. Great job as always. Thanks for all the time you put into the podcast and apparently the show notes. I now feel coerced into reading them. LOL. Have a great day. Well, Eric, if I had any idea guilt trips worked so well, I would have been doing them years ago. But hey, about those show notes, they're not for everybody. If you don't need the links, don't click on the links. Matter of fact, most people don't click on the links, but I am doing that largely, for the people who do want them, but also for, search engine optimization reasons and for future proofing, if show notes become a big thing down the road. It is a bit of extra work, but you know what? You guys are all worth it. How's that for kissing butt? Next up, I got one of these really, really short emails that I love so much. This one comes from John, who goes by Infamous Johnny B in the Slack groups. This is regarding me last episode, saying I had a new setup and asking if anybody could hear the difference. And if so, what was that difference? And of course, I didn't get anybody say anything about it except for Johnny Boy here. In the subject line, it just says host voice noise. And in the main part, it just says very annoying. Okay. What's that mean? My voice or noise, or what do you mean by that, infamous Johnny B? Anyway, this is the kind of sarcasm you get if you're in the Trucker Dump Slack group. So be sure to join over there. You can just email me at truckerdump@gmail.com, ask for a Slack invite. There'll be a link in the show notes to that, obviously, also. And lastly, we are going to hear from Andrew Farmer, who is a longtime listener. He is not a trucker. He's actually a chef and just enjoys trucking. So anyway, he really stepped up. If you remember in the last episode, I was, promoting all those Amazon affiliate links. And I said that if I just needed 3 more to keep that account open, just 3 little purchases from somebody or a group of somebody's. Well, Andrew took care of that all in one fell swoop. He went in and got that, 3-in-1 survival knife, the one with the knife and the seatbelt cutter and the glass breaker. He says that's a really cool knife. He really enjoyed that. Just to give you an idea on how much commission I got on that, it was, let's see, that was a $23.95 knife. My commission was 72 cents on there. So, I'm just kind of letting you in on the process so everybody here can know that, I'm not making $8 million a year on this podcast, but, I'm putting these up here because I think some of these are really cool links and I'm just trying something a little bit different. But anyway, while he was there, he got some drywall scrapers for $10.99, which weren't an affiliate. Like I said, this is the way this works. He just clicked through on the tactical knife. He bought that. He didn't even have to buy that. He could have just anything he would buy within the next 24 hours. Well, I would get a small commission on. And actually, he went on to buy a mattress later on. And he'd been going to do that purchase anyway. And then he heard about my Amazon affiliate link. And that one was, I think it was $358, something like that. And my fee for that one, the referral fee I got for that was $10.76. So like I say, I've got a total of 6 orders. 4 of them have been shipped. Haven't been paid for the other 2, but they're both small orders. Somebody ordered a screen protector, an iPhone screen protector, and somebody ordered another one of those knives. So like I said, that whole thing from that last episode was, I got $12.13 off that. That's fine, but, it would have been nice if it was more. And, Andrew is going to continue to use this link. Anytime he wants to order from Amazon, he's just going to make one extra step. He's going to go over to, abouttruckdriving.com, and I have put a link to my ebook. I've got the combo pack, listed on there, but it's also got just the single books on there too. And if you click on that link, which is on any of the post page, like you go to any blog post, any podcast page, and click on that link. It'll take you over to Amazon. And from there, you can, well, buy the book if you want, or you can just get anything you want, within the next 24 hours, and I will get a small cut of that. I would appreciate that. That's great. But I'm really pleased that the account stayed open, and I'm really pleased that, Andrew hasn't gotten his mattress yet. There was a mix up on Amazon's end, which is weird because Amazon's usually pretty spot on with this stuff. But anyway, he did make a suggestion and he was saying if you forget to go to abouttruckdriving.com before you go and search, it's really pretty easy. You can find whatever you want to buy and you can just like copy a description of it. So for instance, he gave me a Yeti Rambler 10-ounce stackable mug, and, he just copy that. And then you can go over to abouttruckdriving.com, click on that link for the book, and it'll take you back to Amazon. And then you can paste that description right into Amazon search, and it'll take you right back to it. And if you purchase, then that will give me the cut. So anyway, I know that's a pain in the butt and you probably won't do that, but hey, it's worth a shot just to let you know that it can be done. So anyway, I am all pimped out. I've pimped everything I have, I think, except for, Amazon reviews and iTunes reviews, or not iTunes reviews, but Apple Podcast reviews, Google Play reviews, all that kind of stuff. So let's see if there's anything else I can promote. No, I think I'm good. All right. Well, I think that about does it. I would like to thank our sponsors, Volvo Trucks and Pilot Flying J. And one last pimp. It really helps if you go over and just check out the website, either volvotrucks.us or pilotflyingj.com/app. And don't forget, you can get both my ebooks right now for 50% off. Both books for $9.99. What a bargain. I think I will buy me some. And with that, that's a wrap. So, do you have any horror stories from your truck driving school days, or maybe one of your first few runs? Send them to truckerdump@gmail.com. As Ryan knows, audio comments are always preferred, but hey, I'll take it any way I can get it. I'm always open to questions, suggestions, and constructive criticism too. You can check out the show notes for this episode by searching TD147 at abouttruckdriving.com. Everything I do and all my contact info can be found there. I really appreciate you listening to the show, especially when I go overboard on the self-promotion stuff. I'll try to tone it down a bit. So again, thanks. So until next time, drive safe and stay out of my way. All right, our guest today is C. Lopez. That is not his real name. He wants to choose. See what I mean? There's the first blooper right there. Okay. We're going to have a lot of those. All right, here we go. We'll also hit on the upcoming new slipper. Did you know the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, not association, you moron. Finally, after the sixth time you fuel 75 gallons, you're going to be earning Finally, after the sixth feel. All right, let's keep things moving. And, what? All right, let's keep things moving today. All right, let's keep with. I
don't even think you call it a school, but go ahead. We'll take it from there.
Well, that's a good line. I don't even call it a school. It's like, God, I'm spitting all over myself here. Dear God. Let me go back. What am I trying to say here? Spitting all over myself again.